Hey everybody, welcome back. We are going to run through the definitions of propositions, theorems, lemmas, and corollaries. These are all types of truth statements. These will be important as we move forward in the class and begin to prove things. So let's start with propositions because these are the most general. A proposition is any statement that can be proven true. And I want to clarify that this is not the same as a proposition if you're taking a logic course. So if you're like in a philosophy course on logic, proposition means something else. But in general, in math, a proposition is a statement that can be proven true. And we'll give an example shortly, but let's define theorems as well. A theorem is a proposition of major importance. For example, the Pythagorean theorem is one that you've heard of. It's a really important result. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I am sure you've used this many times in your math classes leading up to this point. And something we could consider a proposition, though it's a little bit context dependent sometimes, what's considered a theorem or a proposition. But if we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem, which is a pretty major result, then it's safe to call the fact that the interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees a proposition. Lemmas are propositions that support the proof of a more significant theorem or proposition. So a lemma is often found maybe in one of your chapters of your textbook as a smaller result that leads to something bigger that gets proven later on in the chapter or later on in the paper. So another way you can think of a lemma is it's a smaller proposition that you prove along the way to a major result. For example, many of the proofs of the Pythagorean theorem, there's so many different proofs out there, but many involve squares and many require you to know that the area of a square with a side length a is a squared. In the context of the Pythagorean theorem, you can think of the statement, the area of a square with side length a is a squared, as a lemma. And last, we have corollaries. A corollary is a result that can be deduced very easily from a proposition or from a theorem or a lemma. As an example of this, a corollary of the Pythagorean theorem is if you have a triangle with two shorter sides equal to 1, then the third side is the square root of 2, because we are directly applying the Pythagorean theorem to get this result. And often corollaries are so obvious that there actually isn't a proof provided. You just look at the theorem and think, oh yeah, I can apply the theorem in order to get this. So those are our 4 definitions.
That's all I'm learning. Hope that we can make a turn and start reversing all our minds and put the work in. We got some work, man.